AskReddit by immediate salary 736. How did you find out you were getting cheated on? A flirty text from a guy popped up on while we were looking at her phone for a place to eat. He complimented a picture I had just taken of her. She sent it to him while around me. Bold. Also, this happened in the Eiffel Tower, only a couple of hours into what was supposed to be 2-week vacation. Painfully long 2-week vacation. He gave me his phone to hold while he was having a minor medical procedure, and while in the waiting room, a text came through. It said something like so we canned off the deed again, and I was totally confused. So I scrolled up through the text thread and read, "I'm sorry if you feel guilty, and no, I'd only feel guilty if I still loved her," and that was the end of that relationship. Holy shit. I'm so sorry. My daughter told me. My brother and I both individually discovered our dad was cheating on our mom. We eventually told her. Hugs. My neighbor told me that there was a rod car parked in my driveway when the ex was supposed to be at work. I feel like this is the way it would be revealed in my town. My acquaintances and neighbors will ask me, why was the moving van in your driveway on the 6th of October kind of thing. Everyone knows everyone's business here, lol. The other girl was wearing my clothes in front of me. Edit. Thanks for all the love, guys. The one part of this entire debacle that was hysterical was that she tried to deny that she was wearing my clothes when I confronted her. Until I pointed out the oil stain on the white shirt she was wearing, which my sister caused when she borrowed said shirt without asking. Plot twist. She and I are friendly now, and he's off being miserable somewhere else. Oh fuck that. I was pregnant and they were doing the standard tests including STDs, and I tested positive for chlamydia. I was so embarrassed, but glad to have found out, because it turns out that can really mess up a pregnancy. Still took me another year to file for divorce though. Edit. Since this seems to have confused many people somehow, I was married. My husband got caught cheating on me while pregnant. I forgave him. He came clean. I forgave him and he did it a few more times and we got a divorce. I don't know how this implies that I had a kid by another man, don't wipe properly, did butt stuff, had a false positive. I was clear during my pregnancy test. Only person I had sex with, unprotected at that, was him, while I was still pregnant. All subsequent sex was protected. Got tested before getting an IUD inserted, and had chlamydia. He denied cheating while I was pregnant, but you don't just randomly spawn chlamydia, man, and that was the only time that I would have been exposed. I didn't know at the time we broke up, for sure, but she was engaged a week after we broke up. I can't even figure out how that worked, exactly. We broke up before I found out too. In my head I thought the 6-year-long relationship just ran its course and I was even happy. I felt I was gaining a true lifelong friend. 2 weeks later I get a call from the other woman. She flew him out across the country to meet her parents. He gets there and decides he doesn't want to date her. Out of spite, she calls me and tells me about their 3 years long affair. I still need a therapist to unpack that shit. Edit. Really didn't expect so much support on this comment. Truly appreciate the validation and kindness everyone has shown. My friends found out before me and knew they, the cheaters, were going to the movies together. My friends breed me to go see a movie with them so that I could catch them in the act, because they knew I wouldn't believe them if they just told me. True friends. Edit. Begged, not breed. These are some legit, grade A friends right here. He hooked up with random girls when he was supposed to be at his mom. One evening at a friend's party, there was a girl who wasn't of our group, a friend of a friend. She went, "Oh. Hi. Remember me? It was so fun." Deleted. The other woman knocked on my front door and asked me to take my kid and get out so that the two of them could be together and be happy. I told her she could have him, but they'd have to go because technically I owned the house. I then told him he was free to go. He did not go, sadly. She'd been dropped off by her ex who she'd cheated on with my ex-husband. That was quite awkward. Sounds like her was eager to dump her off and for her to be somebody else's problem quite happily. Phone bill. She was texting some random number 600 times a month. I thought I recognized the number, and when I put it in my phone it was a buddy of mine. This is actually how it started for me. I was looking at revising our phone plan to one with less data and happened to notice a massive amount of texts on her line. Dug into the records and found it was to a coworker. About 48 hours later I got home from work, night shift, and she wasn't home. Took a random guess and drove to their office at 4 AM. For some reason, common ground made sense. Found them both in the parking lot. When I saw her reflected in his sunglasses in a picture that he texted me. Enhance. Enhance. She stopped giving me hugs. Sometimes you just know. Fuck guys. Thanks for all the love. Together for about 8 years. Married for only 3. Crazy story, but we were living in an abusive scenario with another person and she was what was keeping me sane. It was rough to realize she was cheating on me with this guy. I feel better now. Definitely learned over time that questioning yourself and spending time wondering what you could have done different is essentially pointless. This is the saddest one so far. Went on a solo road trip to CA from NY. My then BF of 5 years was supposed to fly to San Diego when I arrived. Then we drive home together. Pick him up from the airport. Use his phone to pull up directions for our restaurant reservation. He gets a notification from a social media app he must have forgotten to delete. I ask him about it. He grabs his phone and deletes the app. Says it would hurt me more to read the conversations he'd been having with women, and that I'm obviously going to dump him either way, so he wanted to save himself the embarrassment of getting exposed. I made him call his mom and arranged to have his stuff moved out of our apartment. Told him to find his own way home. Finished the road trip home without him. When I got home it was like he'd never lived there. Exactly how I wanted. Good on his mom for clearing all his crap out. When she left me cause she got pregnant and thought it was a different guy's. Turns out I was one of 3 possible dads. Couple years later and a few paternity tests and turns out it was mine. I know it sounds weird and cruel, but it being yours is maybe the worst part. He pocket dialed me while bragging about it to a coworker. The universe really had my back on that one. Sometimes we receive gifts. Was using her phone for GPS while we were on a road trip because mine had issues when she got a text from the guy we had been in marriage counseling about, who she says she hasn't talked to him for months about seeing her tomorrow. 24 years of being together. 23 years married. 2 kids. A house. All down the fucking drain and ruined my life for a guy who could pass for a real life Ned Flanders. Hi diddly manho. Old school. Her little sister ratted her out. First serious girlfriend. She was the older sister of my best friend at the time. He introduced us, got us together. 2.5-ish years later he randomly calls me. Tells me he overheard her on the phone. He felt terrible about it, but couldn't not tell me. I didn't believe him at first, but he was right. I remember at work a few years after we were all swapping cheating ex stories and I told this one, and the ladies I worked with were all surprised that a brother would snitch on his sister like that. Without missing a beat, the other guy there said the bro in bros before hose doesn't mean biological. The girl messaged me from an anonymous IG account letting me know it happened while I was out of town. Maybe I wouldn't have believed it if she didn't provide specific details, like the type of car I drove, that I had let the carless cheater drive while I was gone. Carless cheater is a great insult. 2 interesting ones from close friends. Friend's neighbor looked into her house from the second floor and saw him fucking the nanny. They are currently in divorce proceedings, though he's still dating the nanny. The more interesting one is a friend was headed to Thanksgiving with her husband when she got a text from a woman saying, "Your husband has been fucking me and several other women," then gave a list of the women. She was aghast, not sure what to do. Then the woman sent pics as evidence. The woman was pissed as he had promised her he would spend Thanksgiving with her instead of his wife. My friend divorced him. Fucking the nanny. I'd be more angry that I'd married a cliche. I just asked. I think that's equally as rough as any of the stories in the comments. Her roommates called and asked me to meet them for lunch, said it was important. I met them and they told me she had been cheating on me with her ex the entire time I was deployed. They showed me pictures, back when you had to get pictures developed. They said I was a good man and I didn't deserve to be treated like that. They had collected my things that morning when she left for work and gave them to me. I drove to her work, walked up to her, showed her the pictures and demanded the ring back. She gave it to me and I left. Later she called me yelling about me conspiring with her roommates, basically trying to make it my fault. She asked what I was doing meeting with them. I said, "It's called respect and closure and it sounds like this." I unplugged the phone, landline, waited an hour, plugged in the phone and called the phone company, said I needed to change my number and never. I took it really rough and am thankful for her roommates and the friends that got me through probably the darkest time of my life. Roommates are MVP. The guy shot me a message on social media, said he was sorry and didn't know she was in a relationship. I bumped into him at a bar years later and bought him a drink. This is exactly what happened to me. Got a message from the other person letting me know what had happened, and that my now ex had told them we were broken up. When they found out the truth, they immediately ended it and let me know. He told me directly. His family members found out about it and I guess he thought he better told me since it was out in the open. After 8 years together he told me he wanted a break to figure out if this was what he really wanted. After I said no, it's either work on things or we end it. A few days later he admitted he'd met someone. So basically he asked me to hang around waiting for him while he fucked some other girl for a bit. Good riddance to that one. The break for a little bit is always that. Never hang around. This was a long time ago before social media. I went to check my email on his computer and his instant messenger popped up. His ex-girlfriend couldn't wait to finally see him next week. That long distance has been awful and can't wait to reconnect. He told me they broke up. They did not. He did not tell her about me or that we were living together. I was suddenly homeless. She did fly in the next week and gave the ring back. I did not know they were engaged, thought they had broken up. Yay, good times. Edit left off the part that I was supposed to be a summer fling but we were in a motorcycle accident which I had 5 surgeries and he had a new femur replacement. He somehow forgot to tell his fiancée about my part in this and the subsequent lawsuit. Situations like this baffle me. How did he think he was going to keep up with the ruse while married and also living with someone else? How long did he think it would last? I really think people like this don't think things through because they get their energy power from the thrill of it. My ex came to pick up his stuff from my house. The girl he cheated on me with drove him to my house, and we met. I don't think I could hold back on telling them they did it to me. Don't think they won't do it to you. Me and the other 2 guys I worked with had it come up in conversation. She told Gaia that me and her had broken up, and she told Guy B that I gave her a pass while I was on vacation. You think she would have learned? Found out a few years later she did the same thing with a couple guys at the gym she was working at the time. Those 2 guys showed up at her house to call her out on it. For me, a dude at work said congrats to me when I got in. I was like, what are you talking about? He said he overheard saying she got laid last night and he knew we were seeing each other. I was like, I actually didn't see her last night. Then another girl at work came and told me the same, but without the congrats because she knew I'd been cheated on. When I confronted her about it, all she cared about was who told me. Priorities. Anyway, that relationship was doomed from the start. I ignored a lot of signs, so I blame myself for staying as long as I did. She was sleeping with her boss, in the most cliched excuses. I really think if she'd said to me the passion and love was gone, we could have divorced amicably, because I was miserable too. But when she cleaned out our house and bank account, well, that changed the dynamic just a smidge. Fuck you, Michelle. Michelle sounds like an insufferable cunt. The high schooler he was paying for sex left her underwear in my apartment. Checked my significant other's phone. Had Domino's in his contacts list. Thought it was weird that he had Domino's number saved and called the number. It was his ex done. Anyone who doesn't have Domino's number memorized doesn't deserve your love. My ex started a job in my hometown, pretty far from where we lived. She was going to dinner and snuggling her work boss boyfriend in a restaurant where a couple people I went to high school with would spend time. So of course one of them saw her and told me. She wasn't very bright. She messaged me naked pictures of him in our shower. He tried to play it off like it was an old pic, but it was clearly my shower with my stuff in it. Some people have a ton of audacity and zero shame. I saw a video in my ex's phone of him getting oral. He tried saying it was his friend, not him, in his house. I said, I have known you and your penis for more than half my life. I know what it looks like. My Nest Cam picked up my dog barking when my soon-to-be ex-wife got home from dropping me off at the airport at 4 AM. Turns out the guy was on his way to my house while she was dropping me off. Apart from the obvious stuff like I love my wife and cheating is awful, etc., the scheduling would be the hardest part. I'm not good at it. I had to work a night shift on my birthday. When I got home the next day and he came to see me, he was covered in hickeys. What a dumb motherfucker. I decided to get a divorce. Dude wouldn't stop accusing me of cheating. After I left, some mutual friends of ours at the time told me he was on dating sites, etc. When I went back to the house to grab some of my stuff, another woman had moved in, 2 days after I left. It all started to make sense. Apparently it's true, if they're cheating they will accuse you. I don't know all the details, don't want to. Better off sparing my feelings and not knowing all the details than to be ripped apart inside if I do. Fuck that asshole. Fuck your mutual friends for not saying anything sooner. I have long and straight hair, and I saw all over his bed some women's curly hair. I went to the bathroom and saw a bunch from the same hair also on the hairbrush which I used when I went to his place. He called me crazy and said no one was at his place. Those were just his pubes. Chlamydia. This happened to me too. I was dating a guy for a few months and I decided I didn't want to pursue the relationship, so I ended things with him. Afterwards, he told me it was fine because he didn't appreciate me giving him chlamydia anyway. I definitely did not have chlamydia, so I guess I dodged a bullet. I never would have known he cheated if I hadn't dumped him that day, and I probably would have gotten chlamydia if I hadn't. Long story short, she lied about seeing a movie that wasn't coming out for another 2 weeks. I pressed and the truth came out. We stayed together under the guise of us working on us and fixing the problems that needed fixing. I tried hard. 2 months later a mutual friend tells me that she's been seeing the one dude. I talk to him and find out that she's been seeing him and another 3 people, no safe sex, and pregnancy. He stopped smiling at me. Stopped kissing me goodnight. Stopped holding my hand. He became very short and impatient with me, mean. Didn't seem to want me around. Spent lots of time in his office. Was on his phone a lot and would get messages and be smiling. Then he asked me for a divorce. I decided to snoop. I opened his laptop and saw all the evidence. It destroyed me. My story is similar and I'm so sorry you went through this. The most recent he left the messages open on my computer. I kicked him out. Most memorable was when I was working as a nurse's aide in a hospital. He showed up at work and I asked why he was there, wasn't expecting him, so he told me that his friend was upstairs in labor with his baby. Told him to be gone by the time I got off work. What even? Oh yeah, just popping by to see my kid being born, no big deal. You wanna do pizza tonight or what? She told me when I proposed. At least she didn't let me get married to her. That's the most disrespectful thing I've heard. His 10-year-old kid, whom I was around for 6.5 years, told his mom because he knew about it but didn't want me to be mad at him. I was good friends with his mom, so she immediately told me. This was many years ago. The BF of a couple we used to hang out with had a massive crush on me. Somehow it was decided by the three of them that if my BF hooked up with this guy's GF, then I would have sex with him as revenge. I was so disgusted with them all. Of course I never had anything to do with this loser, and my BF and I broke up. There were many problems with this relationship and this was like the icing on the cake. This girl screwed your boyfriend in order to get her own boyfriend laid by someone else he was crushing on? Huh. I got an email from some guy I met once at a friend of a friend's party. My wife was seeing his former housemate behind my back. He had been cheated on himself and was doing me a solid favor. Tipped me off with the address and said to check EZ pass and phone records. I caught and confronted her leaving the guy's house the next day. We're lucky we didn't have any kids. I've been divorced for almost 10 years. Never been happier. He started getting antsy about leaving his phone in my presence. So I logged into his Facebook on the shared iPad and saw in his messages. I called him out on my suspicion the next morning. He denied it. I logged into his messenger and saw him admitting that I caught them and they planning on meeting up to talk about it. Deleted. I had a lump appear on my dick. It grew bigger and very painful to the point I was crying myself to sleep. Went to the doctors and they told me I had syphilis. He had no symptoms and no sympathy. A week later we had an appointment at the clinic. We went to the clinic and got the needle, then a week later the clinic called and asked if I had talked to my then boyfriend about his results. I called him at work and he said we will talk about it when he got home. I yelled and said tell me now. He had gonorrhea. He had gotten it in the week since I'd been to the doctors after he infected me. Once again, no symptoms. Cheaters are assholes. Cheaters who also don't use protection and infect their loyal partners are scum. His little side piece followed me and tried to run me off the road to confront him while he was with me. It was something. Would also like to add that I was actively miscarrying, so that made the moment all that more magical. What a traumatizing day. I'm so sorry. Deleted. You didn't dodge the bullet. You got shot. Sorry, that sucks. But that's like getting a bullet to the chest that passes right through without killing you, and being very happy that bullet is behind you. I was taken out for wings with her best friend's husband and another of her guy friends. We hung out quite a bit. They knew I was clueless to what was happening, but they liked me. I was told straight out by both of those dudes. Solid move by them. It sucked hard to hear, but after a bit of time I really appreciated that they felt I was enough of a friend to let me know. It's been a few years since I've seen or talked to either of them. Good people those two guys are.